Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the sponsor yield?
Sponsoring the case, they will yield.
I'm gonna ask you a few questions. I'm gonna ask you to be brief because I only have 5 minutes and Joe won't yield me any time anyway. So, do you know the state of our nursing home, nursing care facilities right now in the state of Illinois?
I'm familiar with the state of some of them, but why don't you enlighten us, Representative?
Yeah, so over about the last year, about 25 nursing homes have closed in the state of Illinois, and they're already coming to us asking for an additional $200 million. Do you know the impact of this on nursing care facilities?
The impact of the closure of those facilities?
No, the impact of the $15 minimum wage, what it will cost them.
Representative, I believe that those facilities, those who are caring for the most vulnerable in our state, particularly the people who are on the front lines of that care, deserve to make a decent wage. And the state has a responsibility to compensate those providers in such a way that they pay a decent
wage. I'm gonna interrupt you. I only have 5 minutes, and I'm not trying to be rude. I just want to keep going. $50 million if no one else gets a raise. So $50 million if nobody else gets a raise. So what's happening in a nursing home, if nobody else gets a raise, you're taking somebody who's currently making $15 an hour, who has worked their way up to $15 an hour, and you're moving them down to the minimum wage. That's the essential result of what's happening if they don't get the commensurate raise. So if they don't get 80% over the next 5-6 years, 80% raise, you're actually taking them down to the minimum wage, taking people who are in middle class and moving them down to lower middle class. Do you know what a food desert is?
I sure do, yes.
I've heard the word food desert from a number of folks on your side of the aisle. I want you to know that I have food deserts in my district.
It doesn't surprise me
in
at
rural
all.
areas, it's 10 miles from a place to purchase food, and I believe in urban areas it's 1 mile. I would give my left leg for a place 1 mile from where I live. But I want you to know, and the speaker is actually, the gentleman in the speaker's chair knows some of my friends from Scott County, from Winchester, Illinois. Their grocery store recently closed. And the nearest place to purchase groceries is about 15 to 20 miles away. And so a group of local citizens got together not to start a business to make money, but to provide a service. And they are breaking even. They have a small little market. It's got a small deli counter. It's probably the size of a small freshman office here in the Capitol, so it's a very small place. If this goes through, they won't be able to afford to keep it open. Right? These are young people who have stepped up to do the right thing for their community, and they can't afford to raise their families and support a business that's losing money. So you're creating food deserts. I'm gonna bring up another one: prescription deserts, right? Pharmacies in rural Illinois, especially in my district, the big pharmacy companies are not going to move into a town of 2,000 people. Right? We have to provide opportunity. I've got a friend who has, over the last 3 or 4 years, has spent a lot of his own income putting pharmacies into these small towns, finding a pharmacist that will travel to these small towns. And what we're doing is we're making sure these places are closed because they're being reimbursed at rates that the big guys can handle, but the small guys can't.
You won't hear any quarrel from me on that point, Representative. I think that what's happening to particularly independent pharmacies in Southern Illinois,
I've only got 1 minute.
Oh,
I want to say, what happens to grandma on Social Security? Is she going to get an 80% raise? Have you talked to your congressman? Have you talked to your congressman?
I haven't, Representative.
I am concerned because they're already barely getting by, right? And we can agree on that.
Yes.
So how is she going to deal with the increase in cost? And if you don't believe there's an increase in cost of living, I think that you're a little out of sync with.
Is this
reality.
finally a question I can answer, Representative? Because I'd love to.
If I can get an extra minute, I would love to.
No sweat. We'll have this conversation another time, sir.
So in Seattle, really quick, Seattle, when they went to $11 an hour, there was a small difference. It didn't make a huge difference because a lot of people.
Final remark, Representative.
Thank you. A lot of people were already making close to that $11, so there wasn't a huge impact. But when they went from, over 1 year, when they went from $11 to $13, they said that low-wage jobs, hours worked in low-wage jobs went down 9%, while hourly wages went up 3%, and the average person working minimum wage received at least $75 less per month because of the decrease in hours. And so I think that we're trading dollars for hours. Business and employers are going to say, we're going to cut everywhere we can. And I appreciate the extra time, and I urge a no vote. Let's do a thoughtful process on this. I think we can do this the right way, but you are killing downstate Illinois, who severely wants to be a huge part of the state's economy. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative